Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time I've got the pleasure of watching Shuriken Excalibur playing in the infamous, the Tier 6 British heavy tank, the Tog II, which is as long as it is strong. Not sure if that's the way to really start out this video, but it's been 2 years since I featured this tank on this channel, and you know what? That is 2 years too long! I used to play this vehicle pretty much weekly with Jingles, right? When we used to play on live stream every single week. It was a barrel of laughs. At least we did that for about 2 to 3 years. Can you believe it? For so long. And you know what? It's a definite, surefire way to make Jingles a happy panda when he gets to see some Tog II. So you know what, Jingles, if you're out there watching today, hopefully you're going to appreciate this replay. But you know what? You've probably already seen it because you're probably sitting there looking for those Tog replays as they do come out. And sure and behold, Shuriken Excalibur is going to have a fantastic game here. Now you might be noticing that while the Tong is long and strong, while the Tog II is long and strong, it certainly doesn't get anywhere quickly. But I guess that's because it drives with a purpose. But when it does finally arrive at its destination, in this case a bridge in the middle of the windstorm map, it does start to rip apart the M4 A3 E2 rather quickly. And that's because this thing has a rather pokey 76mm with 171mm of penetration and 150 alpha damage. This is the same kind of gun that you would be using on the Black Prince. And sure, a lot of people don't like this gun on the Black Prince, but if you do have the opportunity to continuously fire, then it's not all that bad. And when you put it on a Tier 6 vehicle that has preferential matchmaking and can never meet Tier 8 tanks, that just makes it all the more special. And if you are feeling filthy, then a quick dab of the 2 key gives you 239mm of penetration, which is more than enough to go through pretty much anything that you can meet. Well, actually, everything that you can meet, even frontally, the heavily armored T29, for example. Well, yeah, you're probably not going to go through the T29's turret, but definitely through the hull armor. What kind of other super heavily armored Tier 7 tanks are there? Maybe like a KV-3 when it's well angled? Not really. Super heavy armor doesn't really come into the game until Tier 8, but I'm sure there are going to be lots of people in the comments telling me otherwise. So please, go ahead and tell me what are your favorite heavily armored Tier 7 vehicles. So what else is good about the Tog? We found out that it's got a great gun. It's got 360 meters view range, which isn't too bad. It has 1,800 DPM, which certainly isn't great, but also not bad. Especially now that he's shooting that recently buffed T-3485M on the enemy team, that Wargaming decided to just increase its alpha damage from 160, I believe, to 180 without changing its rate of fire at all, meaning it's now got, I think, 15% more damage than a Rudy and kind of the same kind of DPM as a Tier 7 medium tank, even more than the T-43. Rather crazy there. But the Tog's main strength, apart from its gun, and you might be seeing this, look in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen right now. That is not a mistake. This thing really does have 1,400 hit points at Tier 6. To put this into perspective, look at this T-3485 on the enemy team. That is a Tier 6 Soviet medium tank, and the Tog pretty much has double the hit points, or the starting hit point, of the T-3485, which is absolutely crazy. Now, Shuriken Excalibur is also going to show you some excellent things about the Tog's armor here as well. Now, obviously, when you've got a front-mounted turret and you're one of the longest, if not the longest tanks in the game, that means that if you over-angle the side armor, well, over-angle is probably a bad term, but if you don't angle it very much, it's actually very effective indeed. The side armor on this tank, I believe, is 76mm, which is the same as the front armor, and so that makes the front armor not that good. But when... Whoa, okay, what are you doing? No, don't flip your Tog, Excalibur. That's not what this video is all about. But what you're going to see him do here is side scrape out, bounce some shells from the Matilda Black Prince off his side armor. Maybe the T-3485 will shoot as well. And he gets a shot right into the front. Now he swings his front round, and the T-3485 is easily able to penetrate him. And this Matilda Black Prince, as we're going to see in the top left-hand corner, ricocheting his first shell, is now going to dab the 2 key, and with the 2 key, he's easily going to be able to get through the front of the Tog. You know what, he'd probably be able to penetrate that even with the standard rounds on the Matilda Black Prince, but you can't feel too bad about a Matilda Black Prince shooting a Tog with a few APCR rounds there. But it does take a substantial amount of damage from that Tier 5 premium British medium tank, 400, I think, and 80 there. But you know what, he's got another 2 lots of that in the hit points of his Tog to go round. If he was in another Tier 6 heavy tank, he would have lost over half his hit points against that Matilda Black Prince, but the Tog barely loses a third. Well, just over a third, if we look at it accurately. So from here, Shuriken Excalibur is in a rather tricky situation. His team has melted. The Tog doesn't really have the speed to be able to get around the map and be able to lock down some of the flanks. But now, once it's in this kind of a position, it's pretty good aim time of 2.3 seconds, decent accuracy of 0.36, great rate of fire and high amounts of penetration mean that it's going to be able to just take down its opponents one by one so consistently. Now the Tog, I guess, it's a great pickup for somebody who does like slow tanks, good guns, and just a little bit of hilarity. This vehicle isn't for the kind of player who wants to be competitive. I think, oh, look at this reverse side scraping here by Shuriken Excalibur. He's going to confuse the T-150. Oh, the T-150 doesn't get confused. Instead shooting the butt of the Tog and not shooting the side of the Tog, and he shuts down the T-150 there. But now he's in a situation where he was in 1 versus 5, but a quick shutdown of 2 of his opponents, and now he's only got 3 tanks remaining. One of them is an FV304, that horrible little tier 6 British self-propelled gun that could remove all of his hit points in a single shot. Not the Covenanter though. Does he manage to get a shot in? No. Turn your armor. Hopefully gets a ricochet off the side. The Covenanter fires a high explosive round at the side of his vehicle. Now the Tog has lost his engine, and oh god, there's the FV304. Will he be able to kill him with a single shot? He only does 292 damage to him. He shuts down the Covenanter and then goes after the FV304. A little bit of panic though as he misses 1 shell. He's going to have to hit him another time. Hopefully he doesn't roll low with the 150 and does finish him off. The FV304 knocks his gun out, and he doesn't have a repair kit. He can't fire at the FV304. Finally, he fixes his gun, and here comes an Su-85. Oh no, that's got a big old gun, 166 damage, and he rams himself to death on the Tog. What a muppet, ramming one of the heaviest tanks. This thing weighs over 80 tons at such a low tier, well, relatively low tier at tier 6. And the Su-85 does 0 damage with that ram. Actually 0 damage, as we could see in the lower left-hand corner, leaving him on 6 hit points with a broken engine, a broken gun, and the Su-85 takes 114 damage in return. What a tragic misplay by the tier 4 Soviet tank destroyer at the end of this round. So the only explanation for the end of this game is the enemy surely must have been baffled by the brilliance of the Tog II, right? Such a rarity on the battlefield these days as it's now no longer available in the gift shop, and you can clearly see from this angle that the Tog II was developed with the belief that World War II was going to descend into the same kind of trench warfare from World War I. And you can still find the single prototype of the Tog II that was manufactured in the Tank Museum down at Bovington. And if you do go to Tank Fest this year, you gotta go and give it a hug, right? So Shuriken Excalibur picked up the one that everyone wants, the Kolobanov's medal for standing alone against 5 opponents, a Radley Walters medal for the 9 kills, a steel wall medal. And what's funny about the Tog is the Tog doesn't get a steel wall medal by ricocheting enemy shells. It gets a steel wall medal by receiving damage and just tanking it with a crazy amount of hit points. In addition to the high caliber for the 3,192 damage dealt, really good for a tier 6 game. And did he make a profit here? Yeah, 70,000 credits profit, great result. But I don't think any, if many, premium rounds were fired in this game at all. Well, at least by Shuriken Excalibur, as you saw that quite a few hit his tank from the enemy Matilda. So Shuriken Excalibur, thank you so much for uploading this on What Replays, and congratulations to you on a mammoth game in an equally gargantuan tank. And I should also highlight that the Tog is available for a day and a half on the European server from the time that this video is released. But is it worth it? Oh. For the pure banter value alone, if you can get a bunch of these together with some friends, they are absolutely hilarious, and they're one of the fan favorites for when I get together with Jingles and especially with Ike on the stream and have a jolly good old time driving Togs around. But are they the most competitive tanks? No, I wouldn't think so. Sure, they can look awesome when the opponents come at you one by one and you can shoot them off with the 17-pounder gun that the vehicle has while tanking them with your hit points. But I think after a bunch of games in this tank, when the novelty has worn off, then you'll be sitting with a pretty big slow turkey in your garage, and you'd probably wish you invested your money in something else. But blasphemy, I know, right? I'm not allowed to badmouth a Tog. What do I have to do? Do I have to go and play artillery 20 times to pay for my sins? Either way, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, and if you're watching it as it's released on Sunday, it's time for another Tech Tree Showcase on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week I'm going to be playing my way up towards my original tier 10 tank, the E100. And a big thank you to Palconi, who voted for this, looks like on Twitter with 58 votes, and also on Facebook as well, where 50 people voted for him. So hopefully I'll see all of you right now. And if you haven't been to one of my Tech Tree showcases before, it's basically like a miniature tank review starting from tier 1 and culminating this week with the E100. So you can see if the line is something that you might be interested in and starting your grind towards it, or alternatively, if you already have the line, pick up some tips and tricks along the way. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.